There are several things you might like to know in the map screen of the Fieldview tab app. So I'm going to select that map screen and show you a few different things that you can see on here. Across the top, you're going to see 3 different drop downs. This is where you can go in, the first far left one, you can go in and pick which field you'd like to make active. In the middle, you can select which year and which crop assigned to. So if half of this field was seeded to soybeans in 2019, it would say 2019 and 2019 canola and 2019 soybean. If this had planting data from 2018, you would see that in here as well. Note that in your settings tab, if you've deleted old data to save space on your iPad, it will only bring up those years you have downloaded onto your cab app. And you can go in and rebuild them at any time, and you can bring those back in, and this is where you would find those maps. Far right tab, I have it on yield right now, but you can have it on any of your planting maps, your in-season maps, your harvest maps, or your base layer maps, which include combine planter elevation, background maps, and soil type maps. I'm going to keep that yield map active. Then when you look over here on the top right and you see these 6 buttons, you'll see the top left one is going to just give you an image of the field. So if I wanted to zoom in on a spot of the field, I could select that button and it would just give me an image of the entire field. If I select this button on the top right, that will bring up a where I am at geographically. So if I'm connected to a GPS unit in the field, it will take me right to my machine. If I am sitting in my house, it'll take me right there. The second button on the left in the middle that looks like a book splits your screen, so you can pull up 2 maps at once. So I can see a yield map on one side, and I can bring up a planting map on the other, or any 2 maps at one time. By selecting that button again, it'll bring you back down to the 1 map. The button in the middle on the right side will give you a report depending on what map you have open. So right now my yield map is open, so it's going to bring up a field yield report by variety. It'll give me the yield, moisture, and acres. If I change that map in my main screen to an application map and I open this up, it will give me an application rate field report. And these are in real time, so if you're driving in the field and making that application, it will give you the product rate and total amount used in real time. If I change that to a planting map and select that button, it will give me a variety field report. This is where you'd go in and see those. Again, you can do those in real time. Your map screen is going to look a little bit different when you're connected to a drive inside the cab. But when you're not connected, as I am not right now, this is what it looks like. You'll have a few more options when you're in the cab connected to the drive, and on the left side of the screen will be a lot of green tiles. This bottom right button will take you right back to the home screen, and then the left bottom button opens up a few more options. So this top option is the season summary. So if you want to pull up the season summary, what you'll see is all of the applications you made throughout the year. You can create a PDF of this, and it will give you a report of everything that was done on that field throughout the growing year that you select. The second drop down there changes just like that middle button on the main tiles. It'll change with the map that you have open on the main screen. So I'm going to select, I have my variety map up, so I'm going to select planting summary. When I look here, it gives me my variety, my population, and my acres per variety. It gives me my seed treatment and then the planter that did the work. You can change and edit this so you can label which operator made the seeding application, and you can create a PDF which will give you a nice map of the image and the report. I'm going to change that back to my in-season application map. So I'm going to do an application rate. I'm going to go in and select application summary. And this is where you'll see a summary of the application made. So this gives me a general summary. Then it also gives me the products I applied. If those products have an EPA registration number, they'll be automatically in here if you selected them from the pick list. You can have your operator and license number in there. And then if you're using a cellular connection to record your data, it will give you an estimated temperature, wind speed, and wind direction at the beginning and end of each application. This map was not recorded with any weather data because it didn't have a cellular connection, but I was able to go in and edit that. So you can tap and edit and create those. If you have a wind meter, or if you know the wind direction and you have a thermometer in your cab, you can make those notes right here and get yourself a really nice application and really nice application database of all the applications you've made throughout the year. Now I'm going to go in and pull up my harvest map. And I'm going to select harvest summary. This is where you can go and actually, if you have a scale in your grain cart, or you're taking grain right to the elevator and you know exactly how many pounds you pulled off a field, you can go in and adjust that here in case your equipment is off a little bit. You can also go in and adjust per combine. If you have one combine that is higher than the other, you can go in and increase one combine, which then decreases the other. So you have to have the pounds right on the top, and then you can go in and adjust it by combine. Other things on this drop down is if you select the send print button, this allows you to send field files, create a map PDF, take a map screenshot, but you can send those field files, and by selecting that, you type in an email address. Sending field files is going to send raw DAT files to an email address, or you can enter an email address and select send to account, and it will send those files to someone's Climate Fieldview account. Next, another option is to drop a field pin. Field pins are really nice for taking notes in the field, but when you're in the cab, it is really nice in the cab app for making notes while you're driving through the field. So for instance, when you're planting, if you see a rock that you need to come back and grab later, you can have a field pin. You can change colors. You can take photos. They're geo-referenced to where you're standing in the field. You can make it a permanent pin or a seasonal pin. You can share it via text message with someone else, and it will give those latitude and longitude points. They're easy to delete, and they are really a nice feature in this app. Another really neat feature of the program is this create field region. The cab app is the only place that you can do field region by pass. If I had a planting map open, it would show me the planting passes. If I had an application map open, it would show me the application passes. I have a yield map open, so I can go in and select passes in this field of yield, and I can select them. And then it will tell me within each of those, that collective pass, or 3 passes in this case, it will tell me how many acres, the moisture, and the yield. It will also give me yield by variety, yield by seed treatment, yield by soil type, yield by population, elevation, and planting date. I can save that, I can create a PDF, and I can email that. I'm not going to save it, so it just disappears. You can also create field regions just by freehand drawing, and it will come up the same style of report. But the cab app is really a great place to do side-by-side trials because you're able to pull up, real data with identical acreage right next to each other and really do pass by pass analysis of each of your products in your field by the different variables provided. Another thing to note on the CAB app is on the legend, depending on what map you have open. I have a yield map open. I'm going to use this legend and I'm going to select edit. You may want to adjust it up or down depending on what the standard is and where your products come in at or how your field is yielding. I'm going to just show you what I mean by that. So if I'm looking at a field and it looks pretty poor as far as yield goes, I can go in here, I can select edit, I can drop it down to the number of steps I want and then select auto adjust, and it will bring it to how my field should look. So it doesn't change any of the data, it just accentuates the greens, reds, and yellows to attribute to the field that I'm in. So when you have variable yield levels in different fields, this will help you adjust those so that you can see a nice looking map and really pull out the differences within the field. The last thing I want to show you is the map options button over on the left side of the screen. So you can hide your field pins and field regions if you've got them set up at planting time and you don't want to see them while you're harvesting. But you also can change a few things here. So this prompt hybrid on field change, if that's disabled and you have already preset your hybrids and varieties by field, it will not prompt you when you enter a field. So let's say, for instance, you have field 1 and it says you're going to seed, you selected that you're going to seed hybrid A in field number 1. And when you move to field number 2, you're going to pre-select that you're going to seed hybrid B. But when you finish field number 1, you still have some hybrid A in the tank. So you enter field number 2 and you have it automatically said that you are going to switch to hybrid B, and you have this disabled, it will automatically switch right up here in the top left-hand corner to that hybrid B. You may not want to do that, so it's a good idea to keep this enabled. So it just reminds you, hey, did you really switch to hybrid B or are you still using hybrid A? So that enabling allows you to do that. Field boundary detection really has 3 different reasons you'd have each of these. So most of the time I leave mine on prompt because it will prompt me every time it thinks I'm entering or leaving a field. So, oh, you're entering field number 1. Do you want to make this field active? I say yes or no. Auto is nice when you're, for instance, like applying a half section that is 2 different fields in your Climate Fieldview account. If you have it on auto, it will automatically dump the data into whichever field it georeferences you to at the time. Note that there is a little bit of a lag, so you may have some data in one of the fields that you feel should be in the other. So there is that lag time there. But it is nice to have it just automatically assign to the data to where it thinks it should go. The disabled button works much like a monitor in any other piece of equipment you would use today. You have to go in and physically select which field you're in every time you enter a new field. So there's different reasons for each, and people have their own personal preferences. But this is where you can go in and set that. The other thing to note is the enabled maps button. So if you're not seeing a map that you think should be there, you can go in and select it under this map options button. And that is the map screen on the Fieldview CAB app.